was a part of a few, $100 million projects, and they did relatively well, but it was always the same old story. We all ended up getting wrecked in the end, and it was always over there in the BSC. It's completely different atmosphere than what I feel on PulseChain, where it's not PvP, or it doesn't have to be, in my opinion, and it's given me a lot of hope. And I know a lot of people have kind of felt down and out about certain things, whether Richard's doing this or Richard's doing that. And, I think I've proven some of that to be not the case with some of his actions. And I think a lot of it is due to just either lack of research, or people are just, they're worried about their bags, which is understandable. So through all that, I knew for a fact that once I came to PulseChain, I knew that when I came to PulseChain, I had a goal in mind of having a community and starting a community and, launching a token and doing all that. And then over the past 3 weeks to a month, from some of the research that I went through, it's exploded, and it's been exciting. It's been exciting for a lot of us, and the opportunity that I see on PulseChain and the things that I see unfolding on PulseChain, I think are way bigger than that even I can imagine. I think whenever Richard speaks about those moments about him fighting for our freedom, change the money, change the world type thing, people might FUD him for it, but I firmly believe that's what he's standing up for. He literally is fighting for our rights. When you're using a personal wallet for personal funds and you're raising billions of dollars and they're going after him for tens of millions, it's almost laughable. And the proof on chain, speaks volumes. Yeah, man, dude, absolutely. And things as I started looking into more of it, like I also went into like the relationship route of it. Stability AI, Stability AI and stability diffusion are two different types of protocols, but they can be utilized the same way. Stability AI itself, whenever they explain it, it's like dropping marbles, right, on the floor, and they spread out evenly across the board. So whenever Richard taught, I can't dump 400 million into pulsex only, because if he does that, eventually these arbitrage bots are going to take everything that's paired to pulsex and evenly spread it out all the way across the board. This does two things. Number one, you can't. It's very hard for someone to manipulate a pool. They can't go in, say, if you launch something on this DEX and they go to another DEX and they try to manipulate the price, the arbitrage bots will do their part to eat away at that price to make sure that you get the best price possible across the chain in total. So that's one great thing about these arbitrage bots, is that you're going to get, usually 90% of the time, you're going to get the best price, and someone can't go in and manipulate it. I tested this theory by I launched a token and I heard it all. Like with BFF, Pulse, everything. I took it just 1-to-1, as in value 1-to-1. So if I had 0.001 BFF, I paired it with 0.00 my token. By the time I was done, it was like $86 a token here, $4 a token here, $7, 0.0006, 0.0004, and then left it. I let it sit for about 4 days. I didn't really wasn't paying much attention. And the AMM bots alone, through a 3-day period, they priced everything else to exactly 0.0036. And I was like, what's going on here? That's whenever I started looking more into what stability AI is, stability diffusion, and these types of protocols. Then I looked up and I had seen that over like 60% of the servers at the time were running stability AI or some sort of that type of on Pulse. And I myself also ran a node and was using stability AI and was like taking screenshots of things, and like took the front end that it created, and like it made some insane pictures. It made like double helixes showing you that it was a clone, and it had like dye in the center of it, and like there was one, yeah, it was super unique, super cool to see. Like it was like the day of or the day after that he posted like something very similar with Bitcoin, and you can see how far we were to like where we are now using that same sort of technology, just like taking numbers and letters and dropping it into AI as a picture, and getting this full of what the chain came from, right? We are a clone. Well, the clone isn't. The clone are important. In my opinion, I believe that the point of PulseChain is to have these things reach parity. and there's a couple reasons for that. I can get into that later. But like, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that whenever like where we start these concepts and then where we are today have completely flipped, people's perspectives and given people a lot more hope, right? When I sat back and I was teaching people a lot, if you don't know what SDAI is, right? SDAI gives DAI the ability to take leverage out against it or to do flash loans out against it, because DAI itself, whenever you attempt to take a loan out against DAI, you get 66 cents on the dollar. So one of the main things that hurts stablecoins is ill intent, right? So a flash loan and other things like that. So DAI did it kind of backwards, but it's what saved DAI for so long, right? Because it was very hard to go off and you couldn't hurt it, because if you attempted to flash loan it, you're only going to get 66 cents on the dollar. Most flash loan bots, they're going to go off and send you another route before they send you to DAI. So when SDAI was created by a company that launched right before PulseChain launched. It was called Spark. Spark DAO, Spark Finance. And the guy that launched it, his name's Sam McPherson, aka Hexanaut. This is the name that he goes by on Twitter. Hexanaut himself, he was an ex-MakerDAO engineer, right? Worked, I believe, specifically in the stablecoin area, where he has pretty much redefined and redesigned the entire MakerDAO ecosystem to become fully front-end compatible, decentralized, in a way to where the Spark, and then whenever Maker launches their new token and Spark Finance, they will literally be the ones that lead the way on them choosing how decentralized they are, and like once they become totally decentralized. Like right now, anyone can run these things. Anyone can take SDAI and take the leverage out if they know they know how to do it. They can do it. And that was one thing that I've noticed from the very get-go, is that every one of these protocols that we have seen and have been being used on Pulse or on MakerDAO, Spark, it's all open to the public. Everything is open source code. Everyone has the ability to do it. I think that's very important. It's probably why, when they copied the chain and they were doing what they were doing, that was probably one of the things. It's like, look, we can't do anything that anyone else can't do. Given the knowledge, yes, maybe it takes a little work to find out about these things, but it gave DAI a lot of power, so much power, in fact, that during the month of April, DAI processed $636 billion in on-chain volume in ETH, right? And then total in in all stablecoins combined, 1.2 trillion on-chain volume on ETH. That was the all-time high on ETH this past April, and DAI alone did 636 billion, right? And then literally, it was up 240% from the month prior, and then in April, I think not April, but the month before that, it was 448 billion. So they're doing insane numbers. They're literally, there was a tweet by Sam, I believe, a couple days ago, where I pointed this out. Like literally, the 1 month volume of DAI minted was 150 billion last month. 125 of that was through Maker. The other 100, around another 125 through Aave. So these two lending protocols are absolutely crushing it so much to where USDC, USDT, and I believe Euro E are now allowing SDAI to become, pretty much use that same protocol for USDC and USDT, because they were just absolutely smashing it across the market, which is huge, because you can swap DAI one-to-one across the board with all these things. So whenever they saw this happening, of course they wanted to get involved, and then why wouldn't they let them, right? Yeah, I mean, you gotta, and they're just, they crushed them in the last month to the point it was literally like 10x the volume, right? A Rune from MakerDAO tweeted, literally in one go, 75 million SDAI was bought, which was more than any other stablecoins on the market alone. Someone bought $75 million worth of SDAI, which was literally more than, you couldn't even buy that much of any other stable coin that's on the market right now. So SDAI is a super powerful token. It's what is allowing a lot of this to go down. mixed with Block Atlantica, which is an AI technology and kind of it's a part of, but it's separated from Maker in and of itself. But it's this AI technology that goes around saying, okay, the consensus believes that, depending on the risk tolerance, Spark can launch here. So Spark launched on a chain called Gnosis chain, and they did it very discreetly. No one really knew about it. But again, there's reasons for that. In my opinion, you can't even go find Spark's logo. I mean, you might now be able to, but like not even a couple weeks ago, you couldn't even find Spark's logo over there. You literally had to search for Spark. And it's weird. They have a bunch, like if you go look up, like I'm not telling anyone to go do this, but if you go look up one of your old wallets or a wallet you're using now, you're going to see that you have 144 airdrops of just random stuff, right? And I believe that's because it was a testing ground for some of this stuff, but it's also what they do over there is they run two different types of privacy protocols. They run this thing called Hopper, HOP, lowercase r, and RPCH. These are two privacy protocols that are running on Gnosis right now. You can pay for them, I believe. It's like $9 a month for so many transactions. But what they do is they have these things called tickets. And instead of interacting with someone's wallet directly, like you'll send like if I want to pay Pulse OG $100, I'll send it to, it tells me to send it to this wallet. And then he goes and connects to this wallet. And he grabs his funds from it. Gnosis is actually a pretty fast chain. It's like 5-second block times at their peak with 4 million wallets, I believe, being airdropped at that time. I believe they have the most active validators over there because you don't have to hold anything to be a validator. It's a very unique chain. Why is that important? Well, the Omni bridge, right? We forked a bridge from somewhere. We forked it from Gnosis. It's secure, it's safe, it makes sense. Okay, but why would Spark launch there? Right? It's like, that's interesting. Privacy protocols. That's something that Richard is really big on, right? I think everyone would agree to that. So it's just it was one thing that really definitely sparked my interest in what was going on Gnosis, and the fact that Spark had launched there first. And then of course, it was on ETH, and then we had a copy of it over here. And then we've proven that, or I haven't proven, but 9iron has since proven that supposedly, not RH, but there's a wallet that controls the MakerDAO protocol on Pulse. So I sent a message and asked someone something, and I said, hey, when PulseChain, and their response was like Article 9, Section 10, whoever controls the Maker core controls Spark. You don't have to, whoever controls Spark core can't control Maker. Pretty much giving me my answer. There's no need for us to launch there. There's no need for us to be there because any power that we do have is already in the hands that it needs to be in. Which is pretty straight to the point, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a roundabout way of giving me the answer. It makes complete sense, but it also, in my mind, shows us what's really going on here. Look at how much DAI is being minted. Look at how much is really going down. The name Hexanaut, right? They deleted every other tweet between each other except for "Love me some Hex," and he tweeted that I believe in 2021 or 2022. Hexanaut did. So it was like these little breadcrumbs that they left, and like these relationships that I found, like Maria, right? James, right? There is a real Maria, right? The real Maria used to work at MakerDAO and Aave Finance. Spark is a fork of Aave. And now she runs Summer Finance, which is a front end protocol for MakerDAO, the MakerDAO front end, which used to be called Oasis, right? So MakerDAO used to have a DEX called Oasis, right? Which is funny because you think of the movie and then you're like the Oasis. And then inside the Oasis, now there's this protocol called Summer Finance that allows you to leverage even more out against your against these plays. So again, anyone can run these protocols. And then it's funny because the real Maria's picture is what Oprah Winfrey, you get a house. So it was these relationships and these things that like kept intriguing me and kept getting me digging deeper. And like, why is it, so many, like, why does it seem like there's so many chains involved? Like, then they went to SuperChain, which just launched not that long ago, right? Which is WorldCoin, which is connected to Arbitrum, which is connected to, not directly to Arbitrum, but base chain Arbitrum and Optimism. Like, that's some of their bigger plays over there. I've ran down, and there was around $16 million that was coming from Polygon, direct, like V3 Polygon stuff that was going directly over just to SuperChain. And all these chains all have and are working on privacy layers and privacy models to where, just like Secret, right? If y'all know Cosmos Secret Chain, right? They already have something that's up and running right now that connects 10 EVM chains through this thing called the Secret Tunnel. Polygon has an ag layer, that same thing. It's a privacy layer that connects multiple EVMs together, right? And then SuperChain itself, same thing, privacy layers, but also connects L2s. Then we also know that Cosmos has this thing called CosmWasm, funny name, but it connects directly to Solana. So it's like, as you dig deeper and deeper into this, and you're starting to understand that, okay, so through consensus alone, we would all agree that, we deserve more liquidity, right? And we deserve not to be technically held down by the dollar, right? How do you move away from that? A few ways. It's not going to be easy at first. First you would have to onboard many different fiats, which is what I've seen. I've seen Hong Kong USD, like Hong Kong C, Hong Kong T, the British Pound C, the British Pound T, USDC, USDT, the Euro C, and the Euro T. And you can actually go on PulseChain right now and you can see the Euro C and the Euro T. Or actually, I believe they're active with logos over there. So like moving into 6 new fiats. And if they pair those with and into each other. So if USD did collapse, or USDC collapses, or USDT collapses, the other end of Euro C or Euro T or Hong Kong should be able to, or would seemingly go up in value, right? So it's like they're not going to push away from fiat completely, because it would, they have to onboard people somehow. But there's got to be other ways, and it seemingly seems like they are working on other ways to where they can move away from the way that we're used to doing it, being held solely by the US dollar, valued solely by the US dollar, and making ourselves prepared to move forward in a decentralized manner, especially with someone like Rune and MakerDAO giving up their entire protocol, turning it completely decentralized, and practically stepping away, right? You wouldn't do that unless you got something big coming. And in my opinion, they have a few big things coming, and some that we know. One would be their new chain, right? We know that their new chain is going to be a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake mechanism that is going to allow the minting of wrapped DAI and wrapped USDC and wrapped USDT. Along with that, they're going to be launching 2 new tokens, this is what they're called, new stable and new governance. I believe that their new stable token for the first 3 years is going to remain pegged to $1. And then after that, it's going to fluctuate in value from 75 cents to $1.25. And I think that's because they're going to be using that either in the background to help maintain DAI's peg, or help maintain other stablecoins pegged, because there is a direct correlation to a stable swap that's going to be right there sitting, at the forefront of all this, to where this is all the arbitrage bots will be right there, just constantly eating away at any value, trying to jump around at it. Anyone with anything trying to get depegged or decorrelated, those arbitrage bots will be eating away at anything that has value, and it's always going to outpace a human. And it's always going to do what it can to keep an equilibrium. And as we've seen on PulseChain is built to be in equilibrium, to find a balance. So I mean, it's like it's something to be excited about, you know. And you know, through more and more research and more looking and hunting around, you know, I've seen that, you know, there's more to Hex than meets the eye. I believe that the minting of, like, at least maybe on PulseChain, maybe in other places, I believe Hex will be utilized and is going to be utilized and might already being utilized as a wrapped version. As we all know, there is no wrapped version of Hex, right? We do know that there is a T-share finance, or we believe that it's called T-share finance, right? And that's something that's a treasury. Interesting, right? T-share finance, treasury, you know, and that's what Atropa is building. I mean, in my opinion, Atropa has built a decentralized MakerDAO in a way to where it can run autonomously and with the help of AI. So this is no ordinary copy EVM chain. This is no ordinary run-of-the-mill BSC EVM flip. Oh my gosh, this is what we waited for. It's much bigger than that. It just is, and that's just from the research alone proves that. And through the minting of, you know, that's 336 billion DAI on chain volume in ETH in a month. You know, I mean, come on. Maker 125 billion. I mean, and this is nothing. These are numbers that this is, you know, never. We're talking all-time highs, 1.2 trillion on-chain volume on ETH in stables alone. That's all-time highs. Yeah, it's in the market we are in now, but you know, Stability AI also has this another unique feature, and I believe we're seeing it. It's called covered traffic. So through the knowing how many active users there are, you can see GoPulse launching either less tokens or more tokens. As they're launching these tokens, they're launching them with bots as covered traffic. Why is that important? Well, it's gonna be whenever powers that be or whatever it could be, you want to make sure you can't distinguish a human from a bot, right? What has Atropa built? Atropa has built a super highway of an economic model to where these bots don't know the difference between a shitty token or a bad token. They just know that they're trying to make a penny or 2 pennies, and even sometimes lose on a trade. But they'll jump across bridges. They'll come back over here, jump back across a bridge, and they can do it all in one one transaction. They can go from here to there to a centralized exchange, and then all back again in one transaction. And this is all happening right in front of our very eyes. Now, I mean, as far as the time frame goes, I have no idea. I just know that I believe, in my opinion, they're waiting for more people to catch on to what's going on, because the money is here. The value's here. It's the Metcalfe's law works in both ways. You have either, you know, the value of every network is the number of people squared, or you can look at it as the Pareto principle. The value of any network is the square root is actually provided by the square root of the numbers of the people. So either the people come first and they benefit, or we seek to run back into the exact same problem that we just came from. Because if the money's here first, then the people come, what do they have to gain? Right? Maybe a little bit, but not as much as if the people come first and then the money shows up. So in my opinion, it's not a matter of if or when or how, it's a matter of getting the word out and getting people into this. I think at the end of the day, I mean, things are going to take time. And a lot of this, of course, like I said, you know, some of it, of course, speculation, but the numbers that I'm reading, you can go right now to MakerDAO and you can read runes and these guys things, you know, speaking, you know, straight at it from, you know, themselves. So it's a change the money, change the world type thing, in my opinion. Yeah. So yeah, like MakerDAO is going to be launching their own, where they're going to be minting wrapped DAI, wrapped USDC, wrapped USDT. And it's interesting because we do know that there was around 8 billion in value that was in hex that was put inside on the ETH proof of work chain. And in my opinion, that's what they're forking. They're forking ETH proof of work and possibly a proof of stake chain. And we do know that they're going to be using a deterministic type of gas token, which is going to be a stable token, since they're going to be minting stables. And we do know xDAI was Gnosis before Gnosis chains. So maybe they were going to, in my opinion, it was probably xDAI that they took a snapshot of. And then all the all the interesting like all the airdrops and stuff that you see over there that, you know, seemingly don't have value. They could be gateways or portals to you know, to where people will be able to connect and utilize those for the privacy trading, where I touched on that a little bit whenever the tickets that I talked about. And that's another thing where I found on ETH, which was another very interesting thing whenever I was uncovering a lot of this, trying to find out where value was or value was hidden and this and that. I found out that when you wrap things to the 8th layer, like, so when you literally take something and you wrap it and you put it inside an NFT, and then you take that NFT and put it inside another NFT, and then, but there's a certain point to where there's an algorithm in a company called Block SEC, and as soon as you hit a certain score, it considers it a scam, right? And then it doesn't matter what you put in there after that, that value is no longer seen. And I ran across this a couple times to where I found things of value from 4 and 5 years ago of these holding upwards of, you know, $200 and $300 million, but they weren't being tracked. And seemingly, in my opinion, I think that this is something that was being set up long ago in preparation. And then Block SEC, either it's a play on words or it literally is the blockchain SEC. But they knew exactly what to do, how many folds they needed to make, and how to get there to be automatically labeled a scam. But by doing that, when he went back over there, and then if someone went back over there and then unwrapped those things, they could then literally trade freely in a privacy protocol, so to speak. Because then you could literally go over there and then add something to the other end of that liquidity pool and start trading. And since it's labeled a scam and that there's no value there, no one would be any of the wiser, because you wouldn't see any trades. You would have no idea that that's even happening. And this is not just on PulseChain. This is on BSC. This is on Polygon. This is on multiple chains where I've seen this start, whether I saw it occurring, especially whenever I saw bots starting to jump, the same bots that were over here jumping over on BSC and making trades. I believe that he copied and he snapshot more than just Pulse. I believe that he forked and copied more than just Pulse, more than just Ethereum. And I think, again, this is all, you know, wildly speculative, if you want to say that. And then, of course, you can always go out and do your own research. We also know that, you know, why is Spark important, right? And why does SDAI have to do with anything? Well, we know for a fact that he threw 400 million of our dollars into a protocol that none of us knew about. Now, if he didn't know and or trust that protocol, you really think RH would have thrown $400 million into something like that without having any type of trust or any type of relevance to what was going on? And then seemingly he bought DAI. He used DAI to buy his SDAI, right? The next day, he was on the leaderboard at first. They removed him. The next day, they changed the protocol, saying, no, you need to use wrapped, staked ETH, this and that. Removed him from the leaderboard, right? But he still held his 400, at that moment, 400 million SDAI. And then whenever people say that he had bought the top of ETH, he sure did, but he was pretty much leveraged. I think he knew it was the top, and he was leveraging himself as a leveraged play, because at that point he was still holding all the SDAI, went back and bought the Ethereum, And if you looked hard enough, you would see that there was only 200 million worth of ETH. But on the other side of that, if you actually went and looked on Arkham, it still showed that he had 200 million SDAI, and that the DAI itself was reminted by him, or because he was utilizing the protocol that was supposed to be used, or the way it was supposed to be used, possibly. Again, that's, people would have to go dig in and do their research. I haven't checked on those wallets in a little while. I've been busy building the community, and just because there's just so much going on. Just the numbers alone are absolutely mind blowing. We also know that they MakerDAO through another. So by him getting rid of 400 million DAI, pretty much burning 400 million DAI off the market, not too long after, we knew Athena Labs and USDE came into the game. USDE is from Athena, and Maker threw 600 million at them. So right off the bat, they burnt another billion DAI. That's pretty important, because if there was 8 billion in value in Hex sitting at the fork, and they're trying to burn 10 billion DAI, and Block Atlantica, this AI, allows you to remint burned value, which is part of the protocol itself, lost burnt value. That means whenever they do launch their new chain, they would have 10 billion in value, including their market cap right now, right, which is worth, I believe, around 2 billion. So they would have around 10 billion in value. And in my opinion, if they're forking, they would be able to bring everything to peg relatively quickly, because they're not going to do what RH is doing. They're a company. They're not just going to allow stuff to launch at zero and have it run up. I don't think this is an experiment. I think that this is meant to shake people out. It's also meant to socially engineer something that needed to be done, which was bring a degen like me in front of a bunch of hexagons to let them know that this cannot work without them, and we definitely cannot peg without Hex. So he literally social engineered, and I think this has been half a decade in the making. I think before Hex even launched, this was already something on their minds. They knew that things were coming. They knew things were coming, and they knew that they were coming down hard. Once I saw him buy SDAI, it confirmed a lot of my theories. It confirmed a lot just by that alone, right? It's like, why would he throw that much money into something he didn't trust? And then I looked more into it. Oh, his name's Hexanaut. Well, that's funny. And then I found out he tweets about it, and there was actually tweets to and for them. We know for a fact where he said there was going to be someone rebuilding a MakerDAO copy, and then James using the name Maria, and then there's actually a real Maria, and then how atropa works, and then like the whole system behind atropa, and and then the 8th layer on Pulse that you just can't quite reach to. And in Sam's GitHub, you can read this thing where it's called the world bonus, right? And the world bonus states, when a particle collides without the world bonus, it leaves Earth. With the world bonus, when a particle collides, it reverts back. And that's why, and we know that the number 8 means money. So there's a lot of 8s around. There was 8 billion in Hex that was taken during the snapshot. There was, I think, I keep seeing it everywhere. It's like 8 billion this, 88 billion this. It's just, but it's very important. In my mind, that was like almost their target for when was this all going to start? Like how much value they needed to reach, how much value was going to be used and utilizing it. 414, take the 1 out, it's 8, but it, like, everything does have a double meaning though, right? It's not just because 88 can be seen as HH, which could mean evil or whatever, for whatever, however you want to look at it, right? And that's because it's the truth, right? If you change money and you
don't change the people in control of the money. You don't change anything. You literally revert right back to where you are. Like 414 itself can mean the bringer of light or the destroyer of worlds, right? Like there's double meaning behind all this because it's absolutely the truth. And giving people the opportunity to become wealthy and it falling right back in to the same people's hands that it just came from, like we're just going to fall right back into the destroyer of worlds of what we just were, right? So the opportunity here, I think, is patience. Is the learning thing is definitely patience. Of course he's going to shake everyone out, right? I mean, I don't know how much money he spent trying to keep Hex above 10 cents, and maybe it wasn't just him, but I mean, I think that he did try to keep it above a certain level. And then eventually he understood too, like, hey, I'm not even I'm above the market. And then doing what he did, just flooding people out even more, and then from crypto Twitter's tweets to the way he was acting. And it's like, well, I mean, I think he felt a little bit betrayed. I just think he did. But all it is anyone that believes in what he's doing, it's just a absolutely massive opportunity. Again, I mean, it's like, a lot of this is on chain, a lot of it's speculation, but when you put a lot of people together and people believe in things, and they believe in fate, and they believe in karma, I think he might never stream again, guys. Like, there's people just begging for him to stream, and in my opinion, he doesn't have to. He's giving us the opportunity to grow our communities, doing the right things for the right reasons, because the money is here and it's coming. So it's like, it's either up to us to get people in, or up to us to hold, or remain patient and just see what happens, or at least be somewhat active and somewhat vigilant, and have your voice heard, because he's fighting up against the powers that be, that God, who knows? I mean, and even some of us speaking out about certain things, who knows? But I could care less. Like, come at me. I'm going to speak out for a man that I believe that is doing everything that he can in his power to do and change so many lives. And I had just a gut instinct whenever it comes to random things, and I have since the beginning of my theory. I have a lot of it has just been solidified more and more. Yeah, maybe my theory and 9 irons are completely, like, kind of different in an aspect, but that's because I can tell you right now, RH has a way to peg this 9 different ways to Sunday, and that might be the whole thing: using maker vaults, using balancer vaults, over collateralization. Like he said, he's like, whenever he meant, you have no idea how I can build a stable coin, he meant it. And I think the best is yet to come, but it's all about shaking out the weak hands and the undeserving and the doubters and the haters. Just do not let them shake you out of your bags. Stay poised. Keep to keep to a plan, make a plan. My family thinks I'm insane, so be it. But there's way too many moving parts for me to keep up. So I'm sharing the knowledge with y'all guys in hopes that y'all can also go out, look at this stuff, and prove me wrong, or prove me right. Yeah, there's some other interesting things that I had found too. Was Axion itself. So Axion had this thing called Warp Finance. Warp Finance found out a way to tap into untapped liquidity and utilize it in a certain way, but they also had this very interesting gamification to where you get 3 parts of a ship, you create 3, then you create 1 big bond, and that big bond would create a big ship that would allow you to, quote unquote, leave the earth, right? So, like, that's interesting, because that sounds a whole hell of a lot like creating 3 bonds to make the Teddy bond, right? And then and Axion's whole thing was you create the 3 ships, you create the three parts of the ship with 3 bonds to create one bigger bond, which is a ship that leads you to higher yield. I believe that could possibly be the world bonus, which is quote unquote level 2 or layer 2 of Dysomnia. A lot of what Axion looks like and a lot of what Axion is doing, Cosmos and all this stuff, like it has a lot to do with, out of this world. Finding that, I was like, man, that sounds a whole hell of a lot like what's been happening, like with these bonds that we're talking about here. You were able to claim it 1 for 1. They moved to Polygon. They were audited 4 times, but there was an inflation bug. Or did the OA just dump and remove itself from it and then just said, no, we're still some of your technology too? Or is there just, bigger stuff at play here? That remains to be seen. I just thought that was a very interesting tie, that you could claim it 1 for 1 for Hex at one point. Then they said it was an inflation bug. And then, the ties to atropa with the 3 bonds into another bond. And then, the whole out of this world thing, which is directly written into the code in Sam's code, which is, the world bonus being, it's just, that's definitely an interesting, it's in Sam's GitHub where he talks about the world bonus. And a lot of the stuff that he writes about is, it sounds like a game, but as you read the game, like it'll say like there's three different types of exploders. There's the explosion, which is like the X and Y particles leave here and they start at a 50-50 point, and then they break across, and then they continuously explode at an ever increasing rate till they equal X and Y axis on this other side. And then there's this thing called like the fire, which is a trickling type of effect, but it's continuous from X and Y to an X. To me, it sounds a whole hell of a lot like liquidity pools. And then there's the rain effect, where it's just kind of drizzling across. From one X and Y axis to this other X and Y axis, and then equaling 50-50. So like I said, I mean, this is I'll drop some more of this stuff like in the links to where y'all can like look at the GitHub and start deciphering some of this stuff for yourself, because it's, again, it's too much for one person to attempt to look into. But I beg y'all to go and look at just go and look at the DAI, like the DAI volume and what DAI's been doing, which is insane, right? And some of the stuff 9iron has uncovered has been pretty awesome. He's it's a huge inspiration. Same thing with anyone that Sonny's pub, his lounge. So I'll tag him and I'll make sure that everyone kind of gets a little plug for some of the stuff that they're working on, because you got to give credit where credit is due. And I know Spark can't be used in the U.S., and I'm sure we all know why. It's the SEC. I believe that there's big things coming. There's definitely big things underway, and I believe Pulse is literally the heartbeat of all of it. But yeah, anyone else have any more questions, concerns, thoughts, anything like that before we cover? I know I went over a lot of information, but this is going to be recorded, so y'all can always go back over it and re-listen and things like that. So definitely, let me see. I see Freedom down there. See if anyone wants to pop in and say a few words, feel free to. But yeah. Any questions from anybody, guys? Y'all chilling? Everyone good?
I mean, I can't really say much, Greg, because you've already probably given everyone more than enough food to chew on for the entire week. There's no point in me even suggesting go down and check other tangents until they've checked everything that you've said so far. It's and
this was just literally go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just very deep, and I know it will overwhelm a lot of people to just even start, but you got to start somewhere.
Y'all can easily go find Sam at Hexanaut on Twitter. Y'all can see what he's been tweeting about, some of the stuff on Gnosis that's happening. lately, and yeah, I believe $1.5 million was just given to granted to go to Gnosis with USDC, USDT, and Euro E. So that's going to be over there, as well as they already have SDAI over there. So they have they were granted another 1.5 million and 3 more stable coins. So again, we got a lot of exciting times ahead, in my opinion, and just hold on tight to your bags, and yeah, don't let the FUD worry you, because I think either they know and they're just trying to shake you out, which is absolutely fucking gross, or they have no clue, they've done no research, and they're too busy staring at charts. So that's one thing I don't do. I'm a terrible trader, so I don't stare at charts. I do my research and take pride in that. And yeah, I'm not one to sit up here and chat too much, but I guess everyone else would probably call bullshit on that. But it seems like I've been given a voice and given an opportunity to spread a message that I believe to be true. And yeah, I'm gonna keep holding to that.